Part 1, Act 1. The hook and the slow burn is almost equal to 5,000 characters. You ever have one of those weeks where you feel like the universe is just messing with you on purpose, like it has some kind of personal grudge and wants to see how far it can push you before you snap? Yeah, that was me, standing on my porch late one Thursday evening, staring at a front door that was way too clean, way too empty, and realizing the package I've been waiting for all week had simply vanished into thin air. And the crazy thing is that porch had always been dependable, like a loyal dog that never wanders, always watching your stuff. But suddenly it felt like someone had walked up to my house, smiled at my security-less little world, and decided to help themselves. That was the moment I knew something wasn't right, but trust me, I had no idea just how bad it was going to get. So here's the deal. My name is Daniel. I live in this neat little suburb outside of Austin called Maple Ridge, the kind of place with cookie-cutter lawns and neighbors who wave like they actually care about your day. And yeah, we've got an HOA, the kind that acts like they're protecting the White House instead of a bunch of cul-de-sacs and mailboxes. Life there was predictable, boring in a comfortable way, until that package disappeared. Inside that box was something stupid in the grand scheme of the world, but it meant something to me. Custom sneakers I'd saved for months to buy, the one treat-yourself thing I'd allowed after working late shifts for too long. I checked everywhere like an idiot, pretending maybe I'd somehow missed a shoe-sized box sitting right in front of me. Porch? Nothing. Bushes? Empty. Even checked behind this ugly ceramic frog my ex left me with. Still nothing. I called the delivery company, you know how that goes, a few minutes of fake empathy, then a script about how they did their job. They even had that smug little photo of my box right there on my porch earlier that day like a trophy. So yeah, it was delivered. And now it was gone. At first I told myself, all right, maybe it's a fluke, maybe some random porch pirate drove by, grabbed it, and that's that. Life goes on. I try to shake it off, but I couldn't shake this little itch in my chest, that feeling like someone nearby was watching, like this wasn't random at all, like it was personal in some quiet, creepy way. But I let it go, or at least I pretended to. A couple weeks pass, and it happens again, but this time it hurt worse. I'd ordered these superhero toys for my nephew. Kid had been talking about them nonstop, and I wanted to be the cool uncle for once, you know, the one who actually shows up. The day they were supposed to arrive, I refreshed my phone every hour like a man checking on bread in the oven, got the notification, smiled, and thought life was good again. Then I pulled up to my driveway later that evening and felt that same sick drop in my stomach because the porch was bare, not even a scrap of cardboard. And that pretend calm I'd forced myself into last time, gone. Now frustration turned into this slow, hot anger sitting in my throat. That's when I walked over to the person who, in our neighborhood, loved reminding everyone she was in charge of keeping Maple Ridge safe. Our HOA president, Linda Fairbanks. Picture someone who treats a neighborhood rulebook like a holy scripture, always patrolling, always judging, always smiling with that smile that doesn't reach the eyes. That's Linda. I knocked on her door, tried to stay respectful, tried to act like a reasonable adult, and told her what had been happening. She nodded like she cared, like she was forming some heroic plan in her head, promising to review community cameras and send out an official notice. And for a second, I almost believed her, like maybe she actually would help. But then, in the middle of that conversation, her son Ethan wandered into the living room, wearing a pair of sneakers that looked a whole lot like mine. Same color, same design, same exact pair I never even got to touch. You ever feel anger and disbelief crash into each other? That was me. My chest tightened, my jaw clenched, but I kept quiet because I didn't have proof. And accusing the queen of Maple Ridge without proof, that's suicide in HOA world. So I left. But now I wasn't just annoyed, I was determined. Something shifted in me that day. Something meaner, colder, more focused. I was done being the quiet guy things happened to. I was going to find out the truth, even if that truth burned. And that's where everything really began, when I decided enough was enough and started planning. So yeah, after walking out of Linda's perfect little living room with that fake HOA politeness lingering in the air and her kid casually wearing what I was pretty damn sure used to be mine, I went home with this storm sitting in my chest. That night, I didn't sleep much, just lay there staring at the ceiling fan spinning above me, Thinking about how weird it is when a place you thought was safe suddenly doesn't feel like it belongs to you anymore. It's like someone quietly breaks into your sense of peace long before they ever steal anything from your front porch, and I think that was the part that bothered me the most. The sneakers were money, the toys were disappointment, but this feeling that I was being watched, targeted, laughed at behind closed blinds, that was personal. So I did something I should have done way sooner. I went online, ordered these tiny security cameras, the barely noticeable kind, the ones that blend into shadows and porch trim like they've always belonged there. When they arrived, I didn't tell anyone, didn't hint, didn't whine about my missing packages. I just quietly mounted them, one tucked under the gutter, one hidden near the potted plant by the steps, and another angled just right by the side rail. No smile, you're on camera sign. No warning, just patience. And then I waited. To set the trap, I ordered something small and boring. A cheap phone charger and a pair of headphones. Nothing flashy, nothing that screamed valuable, but enough to tempt the kind of person who doesn't actually need what they're stealing. They just enjoy the power of taking it. On delivery day, I was at work like usual, phone on my desk with the live feed open, pretending to answer emails while really just watching the world outside my house like it was a crime documentary. For a while, nothing happened. A dog walker passed by. A neighbor kid rode a bike across my driveway. The wind rattled a leaf or two. And then, there she was. Linda, walking across my lawn like it belonged to her. That posture of someone who has never in her life worried about consequences, like she was more entitled to my porch than I was. She didn't even look nervous at first. Just walked right up, glanced once down the street, then casually scooped up my package and tucked it under her arm like a loaf of bread, like it was the most natural thing in the world. No panic, no hesitation. That meant one thing. She'd done it before. I stared at the screen, and I swear something inside me just snapped into clarity. Anger stopped being wild and became focused. All those HOA speeches about community safety, all that judgment about lawn lengths and trash bins left out too long, all that self-proclaimed moral authority, it was all a costume. Beneath it, she was just a thief with better clothes and a louder voice. That evening, I sat in my living room watching the footage again and again, not because I doubted it, but because I wanted to memorize that feeling, the moment where doubt turned into certainty. And yeah, I could have gone straight to the police, straight to the HOA board, straight to public humiliation and formal consequences. But here's the thing. Sometimes justice is too polite. Sometimes formal punishment doesn't hit the place that actually deserves to hurt. And as messed up as it sounds, I wanted her to feel small. I wanted her to feel ridiculous. I wanted her to know exactly how it feels to be exposed. So I got creative. I spent the next few nights in my garage like some kind of suburban mad scientist, surrounded by duct tape, springs, glitter tubes, dye packs, and a can of industrial stink spray that smelled like a swamp had a bad day. I rigged the box carefully, layering the inside like a prank puzzle. First the spring mechanism, so the second she cracked it open, it would detonate upward, then the glitter chamber so it wouldn't just sprinkle but explode, clinging to everything like regret, then the stink spray capsule set to burst, and finally the dye, neon green, the kind that didn't wash off in an afternoon shower but sank into skin like guilt you can't quite scrub clean. I added junk weight so the box felt convincingly full, sealed it with convincing tape, smoothed the edges, and sat back staring at it like a twisted little masterpiece. And yeah, I smiled. The next morning, I set out like bait. Not hidden, not subtle, just there, proud, waiting. I left for work with that same quiet live feed open on my phone. Except this time, I wasn't hoping to catch a thief. I was waiting to watch justice with a sense of humor. Hours went by, and then, like clockwork, Linda appeared. That familiar, confident stride, those careful glances pretending to be casual. She picked up the box. My heart pounded. I was half nervous, half thrilled, like watching the first domino finally tip. The footage didn't show what happened next because it cut off once she walked off screen, but the aftermath. Oh man, the aftermath echoed through the neighborhood like gossip on steroids. From what the cameras around the community later showed, and from what half the block enthusiastically described to me, she took that box home, set it down in her pristine kitchen like some kind of stolen trophy, opened it, and boom. The sound alone apparently made her scream. Glitter erupted like a party popper from hell, blasting straight into her face, embedding in her hair, sparkling across her eyelashes and sweater like some chaotic parade. The stink hit next. People said they could smell it from the sidewalk, something sour and rotten that clung to the air and refused to leave politely. And then came the dye, splashing across her cheeks, dripping on her hands, turning her into this ridiculous neon spectacle of guilt. Neighbors gathered, phones came out, whispers turned into laughter that nobody really tried to hide, because the Queen of Maple Ridge was suddenly reduced to this frantic, glitter-coated mess, desperately trying to rinse herself off with a garden hose while gagging on that awful smell. And in that moment, she wasn't powerful, wasn't intimidating, wasn't untouchable. She was just human, embarrassed, and caught. My favorite part? I didn't even have to tell anyone what she'd done. The neighborhood watched it unfold in real time. And by the time I got home that evening, there were already groups of people on sidewalks pretending they weren't talking about it, while very clearly talking about nothing else. But that wasn't the end, because justice isn't just glitter and humiliation, not if you want it to last. I clipped the proof, sent it to the HOA board with a calm little note, nothing dramatic, nothing angry, just, here's your president protecting our community. And that, right there, was the moment everything really shifted. Not just for me, not just for Linda, but for Maple Ridge as a whole. Because once truth hits a room full of people who built their power on image, it burns slow, but it burns deep. So here's where everything stops being funny for a second, because humiliation is loud and instant, but consequences are slower, heavier, and way more real than glitter stuck in someone's eyebrows. A few days after the incident, Maple Ridge held what was supposed to be a regular HOA meeting, but everyone knew it wasn't regular at all. The community center was packed, chairs scraping, people whispering, flashes of that viral footage passing from phone to phone while Linda sat there at the front table, still with this faint tint of stubborn neon clinging to her skin like the universe wasn't done reminding her yet. She tried to sit tall, tried to look composed, tried to pretend everything wasn't unraveling right in front of her, but her eyes kept darting, her jaw kept tightening, and you could feel the tension crawling across the room. They called the meeting to order, but honestly no one cared about landscaping rules or mailbox paint shades anymore. Everyone was waiting. Finally, one of the board members cleared his throat, half nervous, half relieved someone had finally popped the bubble everyone was suffocating under, and he brought up the matter of community trust and leadership integrity. He played the footage, on the big screen, for everyone, and I watched her, not the video, watched her flinch when she saw herself casually stealing like it was breathing. Watched shame fight pride on her face like two armies going to war. Watched the reality hit. When the lights came back on, it was quiet in this sharp, knife-like way. And for a split second, I almost felt bad for her. Not for what she'd done. That part she'd earned. But for how small she suddenly looked, like someone who'd spent years building a castle out of rules and control and now had to watch it collapse because of her own greed. Then the room erupted. Questions, accusations, anger, betrayal. People she'd lectured and fined and shamed were suddenly fearless. Voices rose, chairs shifted, someone laughed in disbelief, someone else shouted that she'd embarrassed the entire neighborhood. And through all of it, she just sat there and took it, because what could she possibly say? Eventually she tried. She stood up, voice shaky but still trying to sound like authority. She said words like misunderstanding, personal issue, temporary lapse, stress, family problems. All those phrases people use when they want you to believe wrong choices just happen like weather instead of being decisions. And then she made the mistake of looking right at me and saying, "You set me up." Yeah, she actually said that, out loud, in front of everyone. And I laughed. Not cruelly, not loudly, just this tired little laugh because it was absurd, right? I looked at her and said, "Linda, I didn't force you to steal. I just gave you a chance to show everyone who you really are." The room murmured. She froze. And in that moment, it wasn't me versus her anymore. It was her versus truth. The board voted. It wasn't dramatic. It was almost anticlimactic how quickly power drains away when it realizes it no longer scares anyone. They stripped her position permanently. They ordered her to compensate every stolen item reported, mine included, double value. And when they announced it, I didn't cheer. No one did. It wasn't fireworks. It was closure. Heavy, quiet, necessary. Weeks passed. The dye faded. The smell eventually disappeared from that pristine kitchen. The glitter, from what I heard, stuck around longer than her reputation. People avoided her. Some mocked her. Some pitted her. And me? I started sleeping again. Packages arrived. Stayed. The neighborhood seemed calmer, safer, lighter, but also a little colder, like we'd all seen behind the curtain and couldn't unsee it. Because here's the part no one tells you. Even when you win, even when karma hits perfectly, something changes in you too. You stop trusting so easily. You stop laughing so openly. You learn that even the people who talk the loudest about community can be the very reason it falls apart. One afternoon, weeks after everything settled, I saw her across the street, head down, grocery bag in hand, moving like someone always expecting to be watched. Our eyes met for half a second. She looked away first. And yeah, I won't lie. There was a flicker of satisfaction there, something primal in knowing she finally felt something close to what she'd made me feel. But mixed into it was something unexpected, this faint, complicated sadness for how far people can fall and how often their pride is the thing pushing them. So yeah, did she get what she deserved? Probably. Did I get my justice? Definitely. But here's the real question, and maybe this is where you come in. When someone abuses power, steals trust, and hides behind authority, do they deserve humiliation as much as punishment? Or did I go too far, turning justice into a spectacle? Was it the perfect lesson, or just revenge wearing a moral costume? I've told you my story, now I want yours. Tell me what you think. Was I right? Was she ruined fairly? Have you ever dealt with an HOA nightmare or a power-hungry neighbor? Share your thoughts in the comments, because I'm genuinely curious how you see this. Justice, karma, or just a really well-planned glitter bomb with a conscience?